Hello everybody and welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosler and this might be the best deck in the format. It's Kroxa, black-red Kroxa, and I say it might be the best deck in the format because based on the events from the last couple weeks, it just might be. Now we know that Modern has become basically this crazy green Uro Primeval Titan fest versus these aggro decks, these prowess decks. That's where Modern is at for whatever that's worth. You know, there's a lot of different things within that metagame you can try. And I've played Red Prowess on here before, Mono Red Prowess. You all know that deck by now, but this is where the metagame is gone. People figured out that deck, they figured out how to play against it. And here we have a grindy version of this deck that incorporates a card that I am in love with and been playing a lot of recently, brewing around in Historic, Kroxa. So, Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. It's no Uro, but then again, not much is. When there's a battlefield, sack it unless it escaped. When it intervenes the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Then each who did not discard a non-land card, this way he loses 3 life. So if they discard a land or they have nothing to discard, they're going to lose life. And of course, you can escape it for 4. This card's insane. I love it. So, what do we do in the rest of the deck? Well, we still have that aggro slant. We're playing the Soul-Scar Mages with prowess. We're playing the Monastery Swiftspears with prowess. Really, the creature that started this whole prowess aggro trend. But then we have Abbot and Keral keep as well. Then we have a ton of cards that you can play for very cheaply. Mishra's Bauble, that's a free one. Thoughtseize, why not? That's an important one. Lava Dart, that's 2 spells in one for 1 mana. Lightning Bolts because it's modern. Seal of Fire because why not? This is damage that sticks around on the board. It can play out pretty differently. It works out cool with your Soul-Scar Mages. You can use it to put counters on stuff. It is pretty neat. Then, of course, Fatal Push for removal. Clean to Dust. Again, you can cycle this essentially for 1 mana, and that's huge. Or you can hit their Uro out of their graveyard, whatever you need to do. And by the way, Unearth for your own graveyard. You can unearth creatures that attack, your aggro creatures, or you can unearth a Kroxa for an additional trigger, and of course, Kolaghan's Command to top it off. This is a legacy deck in Modern if I have ever seen one. 19 lands, the curve tops out at 3. We're playing Legacy, y'all, and it is a powerful deck. Oh, by the way, did I mention we have a Lurrus as our companion? Because that's a thing we can do. Molten Rain. Okay, you see the generic red-black removal disruption suite over here, but I do like the Kiln Fiends. These give you a little bit more aggro against the pure combo decks, that sort of thing. So everybody, Kroxa deck wins here in Modern. The best deck in the format, maybe? We'll see how I compile it at least, everybody. Thanks for watching. This is Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosler. Let's get into the games. All right, here we go. Kroxa deck wins in Modern. Would like to make Lurrus our companion because that's a pretty good card to have access to. And here we go. We're off and running. This looks like a keepable hand to me. In fact, I don't know what else you could be looking for from a hand in this deck than this. We've got 2 lands. We've got a 0-Zob, Soul-Scar Mage, couple aggro creatures, some removal. Nothing that costs more than 1 mana. In fact, even when you remove the lands from our hands, the average mana cost of the cards in our hand is under 1. Welcome to Modern these days, folks. It is no longer the turn 4 format that we used to play, but that doesn't mean it's not fun. And this hand's going to be some fun for us, at least, to see what our opponent is up to here. I think we pretty straightforward for us, right? We go turn 1 Soul-Scar Mage, turn 2 Swiftspear, start the beatdown. Being able to play Lurrus in a deck like this is really, really nice. And you know, look, it's not like Lurrus is overly powerful after the companion nerf. It's pretty fair when you have to pay 3 mana in these aggro decks to put it in your hand in the first place. That said, it's still just good, right? We're playing it in the fairest way possible, and it's still just a great card to have access to. So that's pretty nice. And here we go. Our opponent doing nothing on turn 1. There's a Kroxa for some follow-up too. But let's just get going here. I just grab the Blood Crypt. I'm not too scared of a Flooded Strand start here. Keep our mana perfect because we can. Swiftspear. All right, that resolves. Let's play a Bauble. Let the prowess triggers begin. Question is, do I want to lightning bolt my opponent to really get going here? Yeah, thinking about it. Oh, wow, look at this. Our opponent actually pulling the trigger on a Force of Negation to exile our Mishra's Bauble of all things Still giving us our trigger. I'm attacking, and we'll see what happens. Because I think it might be worth Lightning Bolting their face, just because this is the turn with no removal, no blocks, no Planeswalkers to have to redirect my creatures to. Let's just get them, right? Look at this. Lightning Bolt to the face, take 9 this turn, push down to 11. We might end up regretting that later if this Lightning Bolt doesn't have any other targets, but, I'm sorry, if it does have another target it needs to go to, but, you know, against a deck like this, very possible it just doesn't. All right, there we go. Turn 2, you're at 10. Go ahead. Now, I saw somebody describing this deck as a deck that could transition from aggro to grind incredibly quickly, and that is true when you have access to Kroxa. I've been playing in Historic. No fetch lands in Historic. Plenty of fetch lands here in Modern, so escaping those Kroxas much easier. And our opponent playing a Hallowed Fountain Pass, they just have no chance here. We're gonna, well, I say we're gonna cling to dust. Let's attack, see what happens here. Because I might cling to dust. I don't know. The Cling to Dust doesn't do much. It cycles for us. That's fine. And as a matter of fact, if this is what I was going to do, I should have used it in my main phase in case we hit a Mishra's Bauble off of it. That would get us in for some damage, but I can also just play Kroxa this turn. But that said, I think if it was correct to go for it last turn, it's probably correct to go for it this turn. Even if I messed up by not doing this pre-combat. Let's see what happens here. I could hit a Thoughtseize. I could hit all kinds of stuff. Definitely, if I decided this was the line, I should not have moved to combat so quickly. Should have done this in the main phase. See what happens, if it matters, so to speak. But currently, our Cling to Dust sits on the stack. That works. Wow. We hit a Lava Dart. I mean, there you go. That's a pretty good one. And this is just going to get it done. This is just it. It's turn 3. Okay, our opponent with another Force of Negation. I don't know if they know that... Oh, that exiles it. That does matter. I was going to say, I don't know if they know this doesn't really matter, but the truth is it does because, and only because, the Force exiled it. So, but think about that. They're at 4. If that Lava Dart had resolved, they'd be at 3. Then we would have flashed it back to be at 2. That would have given us 2 more prowess triggers. The actual turn 3 kill in Modern, that's what that would have been. Through a Force of Negation, I might add. That was through the first Force. We'll see what our opponent can do about it. Another Swiftspear? Okay, well. I think the plan is to just attack and play Kroxa, though. They still have to answer the creatures, even if they have a counterspell or something for the Kroxa. I suppose they could also just discard the right cards to Kroxa. Regardless, the Swiftspear will still be good at any point in the game due to having haste. It's hard to see how our blue-white opponent is able to get back into this one without a bunch of life gain that is not coming. So there we go. They got 3 cards in hand. They're gonna have to spend one of them to not deal with to not die to the Kroxa, even if that just means discarding one of them. So let's see what they got here. This was quite the showing for the deck. I have to say, I'm off to... And I don't doctor these games, people. I play the games. If something's just terrible, complete non-game, maybe I don't show it. But I don't have, you know, a ton of games to choose from here. This is the first game I've played, and this is what we're doing. Just like with Neo Brain, if you want to go watch those videos a few weeks ago. First game we played, we just killed our opponent on turn 1. We just did it on the play, kill you, you're dead. So, hey, sometimes you just roll high with these first games, and there you go. Not a technical turn 3 win, but we did win before our 4th turn, so I guess you can look at it that way. All right, what do we want to do here against our blue-white opponent? I think this is probably where we want the Molten Rains, honestly. Keep them from casting their Verdicts, keep them from casting their Teferis, that sort of thing. I think the Cling to Dust is much less important here. The Molten Rains are expensive, and this is not a Tron deck, so maybe we'll keep a couple of them here. And then we will think about things. How about that? I don't really know what you're supposed to cut. We cut the Fatal Pushes, I guess. That's just almost a free cut in that sense. I think we want the Kiln Fiends. They just do so much damage. And the question is, maybe something like this? This really taxes my opponent's 1-for-1 removal with those Kiln Fiends in there. And I don't know if this is the kind of deck you're supposed to want Kiln Fiend against. Maybe I'm supposed to just do something like Cling to Dust and Collective Brutalities and Molten Rains. That said, Kiln Fiend does a lot of damage. Doesn't care if our spell gets force and negation. It's going to get that trigger anyways of getting +3/+0 whenever you cast a spell. So it's not a card you can wait around on. It's a card that can hit you for 7 on its own on turn 3. So that's something that you cannot always handle with a Supreme Verdict, and that's the pressure we're going to hope to put on our opponent here. They're deep into their sideboard, and that's one of the things that this deck has. It I think is one of the reasons it's so good, is that our opponent has to deal with our aggro. They need their removal, their pass, their Alfs, I don't know, whatever people are playing to removal these days, in blue-white, their seal-aways, all of that stuff. They need that to not die to our onslaught. But you also need graveyard hate. How do you not die to Kroxa just coming back from the graveyard turn after turn in a format with a bunch of fetch lands and cards like Mishra Bauble? And, oh, by the way, you have to kill all of our early creatures, so you're going to naturally fill the graveyard for us so we can play these Kroxas. So it's really difficult. Basically, I think the answer for a blue-white opponent is to save your Path to Exiles for Kroxa, hope to have the other removal for the rest of our creatures, or you find some way to go after the graveyard. It's not simple, though, and that's one of the reasons that I think this deck is so good, because keep in mind also the Kolaghan's command. These do everything. They can hit artifacts, they can deal damage to creatures, but by the way, it's any target. They can burn you out, they can pick off your planeswalkers. At the same time, they're going to return a haste creature to your hand. You know, the kind of board states, and I'm filling time here as our opponent takes forever to sideboard, but the kind of board states, maybe you have, things have gone horribly, you have 5 mana in play, and you Kolaghan's command, get back a Monastery Swiftspear, kill something, and cast a Lava Dart, attack for 1 billion, right? They bolt their face with the Kolaghan's command. It just does so many different things. It is a incredible card in almost every format. So let's see how it does for us here in game 2. This hand looks great. Would have preferred, like last game, one of these to be Monastery Swiftspear, but still, as a Soul-Scar Mage, they're great here. So we can play them out. We can turn 2, start the Thoughtseize. We've got a Kroxa for backup. Looks pretty good. Looks like our opponent may have stepped away, though. So if they come back, we'll finish this game. If not, well, I guess I say I never edit out any games. You're going to get this one at the end as a bonus game if our opponent doesn't come back. But wait. I say that, and here we go. We're off to the races. Just made the job of my video editor a little easier. Shout out to Rich. All right, our opponent's going to Inquisition us. For them, on this, I think they pretty much have to hit the Soul-Scar Mage and remove the other one, unless they really need to protect from Thoughtseize, which is what they choose to do, actually. Okay. By the way, opponent not blue-white, opponent Esper. It's something to keep in mind. Don't want to forget about my companions this game. It is something I have been known to do. This is what happens when you play Arena. It's so hard to come back and play Magic Online on Arena. That companion's right there. You can never miss it. On Magic Online, you got to go find the box. And not that it's not a knock on Magic Online, but you get used to playing one way. It's hard to switch. All right, here we go. Turn 2. What is the play? Start by playing the Mishra's Bauble. No reason to actually play the second Soul-Scar Mage here yet. Play around Censor or something. I don't know what. I guess we would get censored anyways, but basically I'm considering what I want to do on this turn. I have to play the Soul-Scar Mage. The question is actually if I want to use the Cling to Dust or not. I kind of don't think that I do. I kind of think I just attack. I suppose our opponent knows our hand, so we're actually not really gaining anything by waiting here, but that's probably... It is what it is, I guess. We'll hit him for 2. Much slower start to this game, but... I say that. It's turn 2. We're doing just fine. And we'll pass the turn back. Okay, so I'm actually going to set a stop in my opponent's upkeep. Yeah. I want to look at the top card of their library to know one of the cards in their hand on their turn, but I also want to protect the card I'm going to draw from any possible hand disruption from them. So I'm just actually going to go ahead and pop this Bauble in their upkeep and see what happens. Now, It's Celestial Purge taking down one Soul-Scar Mage. That is a good sideboard card. That card is gone forever. Alright, Godless Shrine for our opponent. Alright, well. I don't know. That is what it is. I don't know if that's good or bad. Yeah, I mean, my next turn at least looks fairly straightforward. I play Cling to Dust, and then I play Kroxa. My opponent's playing tap lands. That's probably good. It is the one we knew about. I want to get this out of their graveyard before any Snapcaster Mages get involved. That's for sure. Wow, those are some cards right there. Okay. Well, our turn got a little more complicated. I'm going to hope to do a lot of damage to the Soul-Scar Mage. I don't know if I am. So you know what? This is hard. It was actually hard. I could just try to go for broke here. I could play Seal Fire, go Lava. I could do all kinds of stuff. I think maybe we play this game a little differently, though. I think maybe we... I have to figure out if I have to play around Snapcaster Mage. I think that's basically what this is going to come down to right now, is whether or not we want to play around Snapcaster Mage by playing the Cling to Dust this turn along with the Kroxa. Frankly, I think that's fine. I feel like one of the ways we can lose this game when we have access to a Kroxa is to let our opponent exile our stuff and let him get free value off of a Snapcast or something like that. I think that just getting rid of this thing is fine. Our opponent can't flash it back. We get to cycle our Cling to Dust this way, and we'll just move on. We'll take our Prowess trigger. And we certainly, hopefully anyways, will at least not lose to that card. That's a decision we made. We'll see if it worked out. We get a swing for 2 here. And the truth is, we've got some ways to go here, right? Our opponent's only at 13. Kroxa looks pretty good here because, look, if you're our opponent, what are you going to do? Counter it? That's fine. It was going to the graveyard anyways, and it's still got a card from you. It's actually just the same thing if our opponent played an Essence Scatter or whatever on our Kroxa. That's the beauty of this card. Like I said in the open, it's no Uro, but really nothing else is, so that's not a fair bar. And look, our opponent did actually have the path to exile here, which is fine. If there's anything wrong with that. They're going to have 2 cards in hand after this resolves. We're going to have a Soul-Scar Mage in play. No, by the way, we have another Kroxa in our hand. Big's looking pretty good, I think. That was a very nice draw off that Cling to Dust, I'll say that. And now we have the mana. This is just actually incredibly dangerous for our opponent. Drawing the Bauble here, also just sick. This deck is something. I mean, what's crazy about all this, we're going to get all these triggers and all this damage from these first couple spells we're going to play. And we're going to follow it up with the Kroxa. That's going to be the last thing we do, is the Kroxa. That's crazy. Well, let's move to combat. This is a swing for 5. Rather 3, but 5 with a Seal of Fire and 5 with his Lava Dart. So let's see if they try to burn removal or something here. All right, here we go. It's going to be Snapcaster Path, it looks like. But this is fine. This is what we want. We have this Kroxa in our hand our opponent doesn't know about. And now they're taking their Path to Exile and taking it out of the game. Not to mention, I guess, slightly diluting our deck by pulling a land out of it. And, you know, when you're only playing 19 lands to begin with and some number of them are fetch lands, I guess that adds up pretty quick. Our opponent's actually going for the chump block here. Okay, well, you know what? Good play from them. Well, or not. They're going to go for the path anyways. I was going to say, they're going to just chump block and path it on the instep, but play around us playing a Kroxa, for instance, by keeping the path open until the instep. No, they're just... It's a workout for us. I'll go happily get another land off this path deck. So I'll get these pretty journey lands in here. Move to the second main phase and run out of Kroxa. What do you have to say about that with your 2 cards in hand over there? Okay, opponent discarded a Force of Negation. Works for me. Alright, so they've got 1 we don't know about and 1 we're about to know about. And that card is a Monastery Mentor. Whew, I have to say that's a pretty good one. But when you have 2 cards in hand and Monastery Mentor costs 3, we have a Seal of Fire in play. Pretty much a dead draw. Am I just gonna... Well, let's wait and see if my opponent suicides the Monastery Mentor into my Seal of Fire. They're not. I kind of want to just Lava Dart this thing. I need to do this to... I need this in my graveyard to be able to play my Kroxa anyway. I wanted to give them the option to suicide the... Oh, it's a nice draw. Remember what I said about 5 mana and haste creatures? Well then, okay. I still think the play... The only reason not to unearth Kroxa here would be that we have the Cling to Dust and the Lava Dart in their cards we could flash back. So if I don't need to, maybe I shouldn't. That's not even a terrible argument since we drew the Swiftspear. Gives us some pressure another way. Alright, let's see if my opponent does anything. No? Okay. I want to play Kroxa here. I also really want to get value out of all the cards I have, though, which means I'm kind of thinking about passing the turn, seeing what happens, and then doing something with this Kolaghan's command. I might just return the Kroxa back to my hand and play it again. That's a thing that we can do. Then we would have the Kolaghan's command in our graveyard. We might even be able to put the Seal of Fire into our graveyard if we really think about it here. Look, I could... Our opponent's just passing 3. I could put him down to 7 with the Seal. I could Kolaghan's command their face. I'm actually going to Kolaghan's command make him discard a card, I think. But, discard a card, and I will get back my Kroxa. Let's just go hard on their hand here. Make them burn cards on their hand, and then have this Monastery Swiftspear left over. Again, we're not having to... We're putting off unearthing our Kroxa, putting more cards into our graveyard that are getting value by going there rather than just, say, throwing away the Seal of Fire or the flashback on the Lava Dart, something like that. I like this a little better. This is how Jeez. I was going to say, this is how we keep up the ability to just grind our opponents to death, but just drawing all the Kroxas in the world probably works too. As a matter of fact, let's start by casting one here. Our opponent has Monastery Mentors in the graveyard. They're going to cycle a Shark Typhoon. X equals 0. Okay. Not really where you want to be, gotta say. It might just be over. Alright, they actually do have the path. Good for them. However, not so good for them. The game's over because we drew all 3 Kroxas. It's funny, the list I was looking at that had done well in an event recently is one of the versions people playing this deck. I actually added the 3rd Kroxa myself because I love the card so much, and now look, the 3rd Kroxa just casually winning the game here, right? What can we do? What can we do? I can Lava Dart. Yeah, this is all fine. They have no cards in hand. We'll sack a mountain. Now there are plenty of cards in our graveyard for this Kroxa later. Let's go ahead and play it out. This will put him down to 5-3. We actually have him down to 1 here. Oop. Guess that'll do it. Guess we took it down. Kroxa in Modern, baby. Kroxa deck wins, and it sure did right there. That was a nice one. This deck is very good. We just trounced a strong Esper control deck right there. That was incredible showing. On to the next one. That was a tough one to top, I think it's going to be. So let's see. That was a fun match. This one, I guess, is a keep. We're on the draw. That helps out a little bit. Not quite as godlike, frankly, as those other hands look like that were just incredible in that first match. But this is solid. Our opponent's getting off to a good start of their own with that Utopia Sprawl. But Soul-Scar Mage sets us up for a very strong turn 2 here. Hitting a land would sure be nice. Not required, at least not on that turn, but it would certainly be very important. So we're going to lead off here. Get our Soul-Scar Mage down. Now, you know, there is an argument here. Matter of fact, it's one I'm considering. In fact, it's one I'm going to listen to. I'm going to play the Mishra's Bauble right away. I'm going to miss out on a point of damage here, but see an extra card to try to hit a second land. There's no way that the 1 point of damage is worth missing a chance at a land. So, and we can't wait to see. So let's go ahead and take a look their top card here. It's a Bone Crusher Giant. Well, might be the end of our Soul-Scar Mage. Yeah, it's gonna make this game a little more difficult, won't lie. It's gonna be a Kroxa game, and unfortunately we don't have Kroxa mana quite yet, so let's just draw a few lands off the top though, and we'll be perfectly okay. Our opponent doing that, but otherwise not doing anything too terrible. Another Bauble and another Dart. Okay, well that's not where you want to be, but this deck can grind, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to start by Thoughtseizing our opponent. What in the heck? Wow. Great hand over there. Well, I either got to give him a Klothys or I got to give him a Bloodbraid Elf. I guess they get the Bloodbraid Elf. I don't know that I can beat the Klothys when we're playing Kroxa over here. Kind of need access to our graveyard. The Bloodbraid going to be problematic, though, as it tends to be. I mean, not hitting the land's obviously devastating, but... Alright, well, we get to draw another Bauble, and our opponent gets to draw another Klothys. This is not looking very good over here. I can answer the Bloodbraid Elf itself, no problem. I mean, we'll see what kind of value they get off of it, but missing our land drops this deep into our deck, yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. I think when you play 19-land deck, you just accept that that's going to happen. That said, I don't really know how we're ever going to beat Klothys. Thoughtseize. Alright, those aren't lands. Let's go to game 2 before we show our opponent anything else. We're not beating Klothys on that. What do I want? Yeah, it doesn't work. These are okay, I guess. This one seems pretty good. Our opponent's surely got Arbor Elves in there. I'll cut a Kroxa, I guess, if our opponent's playing all that graveyard hate. We just want a nice aggro hand here, I think. You know, I don't know. We want Kiln Fiends, maybe? Maybe. Heck, maybe we do. Well, don't know if we got them, but maybe. Alright. Get Lurrus in here. Yeah, it's a hand you keep. This is a 2020 hand, Magic in 2020, that's for sure. Which is interesting, actually. I say this is the 2020th hand ever. I mean, of the 7 cards in our hand, not counting the 8th pseudo card in our hand, these are all old cards. Lightning Bolt's as old as it gets. It's not like Soul-Scar Mage, Swiftspear, or Thoughtseize are particularly new either, but what I mean is this is 2020 Modern. Every spell in your deck costs 1 or 2 mana if you can help it. Or 7, I guess. That or you're playing, it's either 1, 2, or 3 free mana costs, or you're playing Tron. It's 7, 8, and 11. Alright, well, if we get a land here, this hand looks very good. If we were able to play the Swiftspear plus the Thoughtseizes. Not quite, as a matter of fact, far from it. Have to play this, though. Begin the beatdown and hope to draw lands. Look, if we get to draw a land and double Thoughtseize next turn, we might be perfectly fine, but obviously it would have been much better if we could have Thoughtseized away whatever my opponent's about to cast on us. I mean, our hand is great. If we draw... I mean, I guess this is interesting. This is the risk you run sometimes, but I don't feel like you can mulligan a hand like this. Well, that's pretty good. Okay. We've been pillaged, everybody. Obviously, I hit the land now. Alright, let's Thoughtseize. I guess we hit the land. Everything's fine. We're back to where we were, and you know what? We can cast most of the spells in our hand. Our opponent's down a pillage. Joke's on you. Those are pretty good cards, though. Woo. Glorybringer's the most unbeatable, but my opponent can't play it till next turn. What if I just hit the Chandra and then next turn hit the Glorybringer with these Thoughtseizes? That might be the line. I mean, look, we're getting in there a little bit. We're coming in for 4, putting our opponent down to 10. We have 2 Lightning Bolts in our hand. I mean, actually, our hand is full of 8 points of burn, or 10 points of burn if you think about it. What is Thoughtseize except for self-burn? But yeah, our opponent's doing some work for us, putting us down to 9. This game might just end next turn if we hit a land. All right, let's see what the big play is. It's not a Chandra taking down one of our creatures. They don't have 5 mana yet. We hit land, we go bolt, bolt, kill you. We only need 1 creature to get through, but we do need the land. Our opponent is just deep in the tank over there about how to tap these lands. I mean, only one of them actually has a choice, but okay. What's the play? Here we go. Is a questing beast. You know what? I actually am not too concerned about a questing beast right now. So land on top, questing beast doesn't matter. No land on top. Well, game still gets a little more complicated. Answer is land on top. We did it. We got there. We're going to get a game 3 by the good old-fashioned point a lightning bolt at your face. This one puts them to 6, double prowess trigger. This one puts them to 3, double prowess trigger. Each one of these creatures is now lethal. So we're going to get a game 3. Unfortunately, we have to go back on the draw for that one. I don't think I like the Kiln Fiends. I was thinking about it. My opponent's playing... we took that one down. Our opponent's playing stuff like Bone Crusher Giant and Sean. I don't know that Kiln Fiend is exactly where we want to be. Just get blown out by a Bone Crusher. Honestly, I think what we had there is reasonable. I wish I could play these Molten Rains. I really do. I'll play one for funsies. We've been mana screwed 2 games in a row, and we won one of them. But I actually never had more than one land until the very end, and it worked. But well, asking you shall receive. Are you kidding me? That's 5 of them. I can't possibly be a keeper. Although we're on the draw, and these are good cards. And mulliganing's terrible for this deck. All right, heat check, everybody. Let it be known. After that first match, after winning that game on 1 land, I'm calling a heat check. Okay, if you're not familiar with basketball, that is when someone has made a couple difficult shots. And now they need to know if they're on fire. And how do you know if you're on fire? Where you have to do a heat check, which means you just have to throw up the next shot you can from wherever you are on the court next time you catch the ball to see if you're on fire. That's where we're at with this game. Let's go. Keep it. Do your worst, friend. Maybe we can get a fit. This is a third of the lands in our deck once we fetch. We're not going to draw any. It's fine. There's just going to be nothing but incredible magic cards off the top. Watch. Looks like our opponent mulligan, though, so that's good for us, although they do have a strong start there with the Arbor Elf. See what I mean? And you know what? As a matter of fact, I've had it with these Arbor Elves. Get out of here. I think this is the right line for sure. Using that Lava Dart to take out the Elf. Then still on next turn, we get to go Swiftspear and Thoughtseize. We're out 8 point of damage, I guess. And it's not even that bad. I now have all these excess lands. I can just use the Flashback Lava Dart to just kill the second Arbor Elf. Just the full and maximum value out of the magic card Lava Dart. It's just, oh wow. And it's needed too, as our opponent goes to town with the Utopia Sprawl in the forest there. They'd have access to a minimum of 5 mana next turn. 2 from this, 2 from the Arbor Elf untapping it, and 1 from the Stomping Ground. As a minimum. Other decks do strong things on turn 2 as well, but you know what? So do we. This is just disgusting. Now, can I get away? Actually, don't think I can. I was trying to figure out if I could fetch just to get the land out of my deck. I don't think so. But let's go ahead and play a... Whoop, that's wrong. Close there. Play a Swiftspear. Play a Thoughtseize. And now, look, whatever my opponent's ramping to, we're just going to take it anyways. It's a Magus of the Moon, which is not even that good. But whatever. Now, I'll still just Lava Dart this thing down because I don't want them to have mana, nor do I even want them to have the chump block, frankly. There's no reason to let them have it. Let's get in for 3. Well, things are working out like I called it so far, but now it's starting to come down to it. We've got 1 non-land card in our hand, and this is where we need some gas. We've actually dealt with pretty much everything our opponent is doing. If we don't get top, if they draw a couple bad draws in a row, which their deck has plenty of, the deck of Mana Dorks, Utopia Sprawls, we could do a lot of damage. But we are definitely at least a card short right now. Could have been any of these. Alright, well, sooner or later our opponent's gonna do nothing. Okay, alright, I guess that works. Here we go. Lightning Bolt looks pretty good to me. Seal of Fire. Time to attack. Probably just gonna Lightning Bolt them, won't lie. Not many lands left in our deck. Puts them to 11. The Swiftspear puts them to 8. A virtual 6 with the Seal of Fire. 2 lands in our hand means we've got some distance, some ground to make up. But if they don't find any life gain, they're pretty low. Now, Bloodbraid Elf is a pretty good start. Bloodbraid Elf into Pillage is actually not very good in this circumstance because it turns out we don't need the land. I guess we should hold on to this swamp. It's the only way we're going to cast black spells at this rate. All right, this is where we need to hit a good one. This is big right here. The big turn in this game. That is a good one. Now, it's not perfect here, but it is a good card. Well, I guess I just Seal of Fire away the Bloodbraid Elf, even though we're actually, you know, getting less. We're getting 1 damage from the Swiftspear. We could have thrown the Seal of Fire at him for 2, but this, I think, is fine. Especially since the Bloodbraid Elf is a 3-2, my opponent's just always going to block there. And if I had 1 to actually trade with it, 1 spell, then maybe, since I could K-command back the Swiftspear, but otherwise, no. I mean, that said, oh my gosh, it's another Pillage. And an Arbor Elf. Our opponent's got nothing. We have less. Almost. Wow. Keeping 5 lands. Genius play, am I right? Truly. Truly. Only the big brain plays right here. That said, though, I mean, we've got the lands to cast some spells. Our opponent's going for the chump block. They probably should, otherwise they might die. The thing is, with 4 mana, they could actually cast a lot of spells that would be very good for them, right? Chandra probably puts them in a great spot. You know, they probably have Obstinate Baloth, something weird like that to gain life. There's a lot of cards for them that would be very powerful against our board. So, you know, the game not over by any means, but it looks like we got another turn. Now we're going to get to cast this K-Command one way or another. I'm actually not going to do it yet, but let's play a Swiftspear and hit. If this attack gets in, all right, we've got him down to 5. That means lethal next turn. Kolaghan's command can deal 2. The Swiftspears can deal 4 after we cast it. They're going to need something. That's just a chump blocker. As a matter of fact, that doesn't do it at all. I can deal, well, I suppose it does. I can't deal damage to them and it. If they wanted to fetch, they would lose, though. I could turn off the fetch land. Well, Thoughtseize typically does nothing. And in this case, it's kind of medium, right? But, what if I Thoughtseized nothing, but swung to put them down lower? Baiting them into fetching themselves to 2, at which point we K-command? I might be going a little deep here. But prowess trigger is a prowess trigger. Yeah, no non-land cards. I understand. I'll take the 2. Small price to pay. Really, I just played Mutagenic Growth, if you think about it. We paid 2 life to give +2 power to our team. And, alright, this puts them down to 3. Now, I don't like that we can't cast the Kolaghan's command. And it's sitting in our hand if we pill, you know. I don't really know how we lose here. And apparently we don't. I was trying to figure it out. I was worried about them pillaging our land. It would involve them wiping the board and us only able to put them to 1 or something weird like that. But in the end, we got there. We got there on 1 land. We got there on 5 lands. We got there with the best deck in Modern. Kroxa deck wins. Let's see if we can finish things off with 1 more. All right, looks like we get to be on the play here. Always like that. We did line up a turn 3 victory in game 1 after all. Imagine that Modern used to be a format you could play tap lands on turn 1 and 2. Man, not anymore, all right. Well, this is a 1-lander, but I think we have to keep it. It's got the Bauble even. This hand's going to do a lot of damage. Now, it's going to be a minute before I get to cast these Thoughtseize. I think that's Long and short of it, it's going to be a while. But our opponent is mulliganing. That's always a good start. We get to go Soul-Scar Mage and Swiftspear plus the Bauble. We'll see. We've got some options here. Obviously, if we hit a land, it's insane. Now, the question would be if I want to play the Bauble now. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to choose to be a good player here. And I'm going to do this because I think that the upside of hitting our second land next turn and being able to play Swiftspear plus Thoughtseize is worth the what we would get out of the Bauble later, right? So I actually don't want to do this quite yet. We'll wait till they're upkeep like a good player here. And on top for them is a Temple Garden. Well, you know what decks play Temple Garden? Fair ones. You know what decks are going to have trouble with our deck? Probably a fair one, because we're going to come in for a bunch of damage if you're trying to dirtle around with some green creatures. Just playing the land tapped. Also not bad for me. Now, we got two shots here. If we hit an untapped... all of our lands are untapped. If we hit a land, this game should be looking great for us. You know what? If we hit two lands, well, that's probably exactly how many I want to see and no more. I suppose one more might be okay later, but for now, no more. All right, how about that? Swiftspear hit the table. Thoughtseize follow-up. We're mixing the best aggression in the format with the best disruption in the format. That is absurd. And our opponent trying to combo off over there with Green-White Enchantress. Very nice. Unfortunately for you, this card costs 3 mana. The others cost more. Don't even need to read them. You'll be dead before you play them. I say that. They're good cards. But Ixalan's Binding and Eidolon of Blossoms, as powerful as they can be. And, you know, hey, you Ixalan's Binding one of our Monastery Swiftspears. That's a big play. But might just be dead before then. I'm swinging for... I'm attacking for quite a bit on this coming turn here. Especially with the Kroxa draw. Let's start things off with the Thoughtseize. Let's see what's up. That comes out of the gates fast. Comes out of the gates hard. It comes out of the gates with disruption. And it backs it up with this Kroxa escape engine that is just ridiculous to try to beat in the late game. And our opponent just hit a land. Eidolon of Blossom goes away. What are they going to do? Thoughtseize you down to 13. Swing for 6 more. Put you at 7 with the Kroxa follow-up here. Pretty sick. If we hit a land, well, that's great. We have our 4th land for Kroxa. If we hit a non-land card, well, the game probably ends. And that is why, one, why this is a good card, but 2, why just this amalgamation of cards is so good. And frankly, that's a nice draw for our opponent. But the Kroxa ties it together. Really, it's a perfect mix between early damage, early plays, and early disruption, along with a late game engine. That said, Phyrexian Unlife is quite the card from our opponent. That's a powerful one right there. You don't lose a game for having 0 life or less. As long as you have 0 life or less, all damage is dealt to you as though you had Infect. So the bad news for us is that this doesn't work the way you think it would. It's not like if you're at 2 and you take 6, you go to 4 Infect. Taking 2 and then the 4. No, you go to 0. Combat's over. The next turn, you start taking Infect damage. Or the next time you take damage. So what that means is swinging for 2 to our opponent here. It doesn't kill them, obviously, but it also means they have another turn in the bag. And that means that, you know, maybe we spoke a little too soon. That was the perfect draw. Now the Ixalan Binding going to hit the battlefield on the Monastery Swiftspear. This game's got a ways to go. Phyrexian Unlife buys a lot of time. And obviously we could start drawing Swiftspears that we can't play. And if we don't have land, we can't unearth Kroxa either. So, let's see what happens. Now, we don't know what's in our opponent's hand. We get to play one more Kroxa to get it. So then we will at least be in a position where both players are top decking and we're going to be in a much better spot at that point. Our opponent actually taking the Soul-Scar Mage instead of the Swiftspear. Don't know about that one. Since Ixalan's Binding means I can't cast spells with that name. And being able to cast a hasty creature seems more important than the counters. Now the good news for us here, and I guess we play the Abbot. I guess it's just no... There's very few things we get hit off the Abbot that we don't get to play here. This land gives us Kroxa. It's basically just a Kolaghan's Command. Obviously, there's 2 drops we can hit, but I think it's well worth the shot here. And you know what? Unearth works pretty well. Like to cast this Unearth, targeting this Kroxa. Also, by the way, we're going to get a Prowess Trigger on a Swiftspear here, but this is great. This is huge, as a matter of fact, because it's going to work this way. Either the Kroxa is going to come into play, our opponent's going to discard a land, be at 0, because they lost 3, and then we can start, dealing infect damage to them, or they're going to discard a card that was good, like that, Banishing Light. Now we don't have to worry about a Banishing Light, and we got the Prowess Trigger on our Swiftspear to put them down to 0 and start that infect clock that we can start working on. Now, something that I think is going to come up, Kroxa makes you lose life. Our opponent doesn't lose the game for having 0 less life or less. The Kroxa actually don't matter if our opponent doesn't have cards in hand, because damage is dealt to you as though you had infect, not life loss. Now our opponent has Shroud anyways. We do not have a lot of answers to enchantments and black-red, gotta say. But yeah, these Kroxas, they don't do anything right now. If we hit a land, we can beat down with it, but well, I guess I'll be lava darting myself. Do this the right way. just I can't target them, and I just need Prowess Triggers on my creatures, so let's do it. Casting Kroxa does nothing. Now, I say that. I actually... I could do it back and have 4/7. Just swing for this. I actually want to keep this land because unearthing Kroxa would be huge, and just to have it as a creature, obviously, right? If our opponent just whiffs on something here, the game's over anyways by flashing back the Lava Dart and hitting for 5. Trinisphere is actually a pretty good card, and honestly is incredible against our deck, but in this case it doesn't matter because I'll just pay 3 to Lava Dart myself this time. All right, how about that? Pay 3, sack a mountain. Price well worth paying. Double with Prowess Trigger means we get to swing for 5 infects. So, onto the sideboard. It seems horrible. I have so little I can do here. This only hits instant and sorceries. I don't think their graveyard matters. Their creatures and artifacts, well, we saw a Trinisphere, but there's no way that boarding this in is correct. The Kiln Fiends we want. We absolutely need the Kiln Fiends. I kind of want the Molten Rains too, but we just want to get out of the gates as fast as we possibly can and hope our opponent doesn't have a quick Trinisphere. Now, Kolaghan's Command can kill that. Worth noting. I guess it just looks something like this. I don't know. It's kind of tough. I have to say, Enchantress is a deck in Modern. It's a Mining Modern deck, as a matter of fact. This is maybe a deck we could play sometime. And look, I know it's not like me to play the best deck in Modern, and that's what I've been calling this. But I say that very tongue-in-cheek. This is a unique twist on one of the better decks in Modern, but Modernist is in such a crazy state of flux right now that it's probably not going to be the best deck in a month. It's probably not going to be the best deck in a year. So I think it still qualifies as a Mighty Modern deck because Kroxa is a card. And a lot of these versions don't play Kroxa. A lot of times even it's Is It Prowess that's seen as the best deck, or even Mono Red Prowess, not this black-red, much different looking version that we're playing. So we'll see how it works out here. It's been very good to us so far. Although I don't know if that's quite so much the black cards outside of Thoughtseize, really, right? But yeah, this has looked very nice. And we'll see if we can pull off one more win here. Uphill battle, but wow. Holy creatures. I don't even know what to say about this one. This is nuts. Now, yeah, we'll see what our opponent has. I'm going Soul-Scar Mage into Kiln Fiend. That's what I'm doing. I'm saving these ace creatures for later, and I'm going to do as much damage as possible with a Kiln Fiend. Blood Crypt is a card you can play against me, and it's a card that's good, but this is what I was talking about earlier. I don't have a Kroxa. I don't have a Lava Dart. Blood Crypt doesn't do anything. You'll just die to these 5 creatures in my hand. That said, sometimes you just die to my graveyard if you don't have the Tormod's Crypt. Obviously Lurrus always deals with the graveyard, but we haven't even cast Lurrus yet. We haven't even put Lurrus into our hand, nor have we even thought about putting Lurrus into our hand yet. So yeah, we'll it's nice, and it's a nice option, but it's not even one that so far at least we've even needed to try. All right, well, let's see what we find here. It's a Kroxa. Well, all right, your Tormod's Crypt got a little better, but turns out Kroxa gets a card either way, and if you use your Tormod's Crypt to clear the Kroxa, well, all you really did was discard 2 cards to it. I'll move to combat here. Let's see what happens. This is just so great, because the thing is, not only do we have 2 lands to play everything, we even have the 3rd land, which, maybe you take it or leave it. It's not necessarily necessary or even sometimes wanted in this deck. But look at this hand. We can play 3 1-drops on turn 3. Or we can play a Kroxa in a 1-drop, right? We just have all the options in the world available to us. Till we get Trinisphered. It's hilarious, actually, I say that. Oh, we got 3 1-drops. Our opponent plays a card that means we have no 1-drops. We have nothing but 3-drops now. Well, that's good to know, but I don't know. I'm just really good at this game, and I draw Kolaghan's commands off the top exactly when we need them. I get to destroy an artifact and make them discard a card. Pretty sick, wouldn't you say? Oh, by the way, trigger prowess and not prowess, whatever the heck you call +3/+0 ability on our Kiln Fiend here. This is pretty nutty. I said it's a legacy card, and this is why it just does everything. And it's a 2-for-1 straight up, because we get a card out of their hand, we get the Trinisphere, the fact that it comes along with 4 extra points of damage thanks to the triggers is just icing on the cake. Our opponent pitching the Phyrexian Unlife, though. It's a good one. Get in for 6. We've got a beatdown train going here. I almost wouldn't even say no to a 4th land at this point, but either way, creature plus Kroxa next turn is going to look pretty good, but I'd like a spell. Take a Lava Dart. Lava Dart, by the way, has... doesn't matter, our opponent can answer Kiln Fiend. Little do they know that our hand actually isn't killing them right away. Although Cling to Dust into Seal of Fire would have just done that, actually. Would have literally attacked for... what if, I guess, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 4, 9. That's pretty good. We would have done quite a bit on that turn, as it turns out. But gotta say, this deck has it all. Would I change any cards? No. Play this deck. It's incredible. That was nuts, everybody. Thank you so much for watching Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosler. You can find me here every Thursday. You can find me on Twitter at Chosler, just Chosler. My podcast is Brainstorm Brewery. And that's what I do. I've got to do the event coverage for Wizards of the Coast. We've got a Mythic Invitational coming up I'm really looking forward to. So everybody check that out. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.